Hey guys, this is Dezi with OXFiles. Here to give you a little quick breakdown of basic EMEK maintenance. This is one of our markers that we use for our rental fleet here. This is also one of the your lower tier price range for one of the markers. This is a high tier marker, but a low tier price point. Is really amazing. Son, you can't be doing that on camera. Yes, that would be your field manager. All right, now that we're back here, now that that's been handled. Very good. So, want to go over a little bit of just quick basic maintenance that comes down to this marker here. Now, luckily, every time you buy a Planet Eclipse marker, you are going to also receive a tool kit as well as a parts kit to be able to replace the different O-rings and such here. Very simple. This is exactly the stock model that you get for the EMEK. Shorty little barrel, great little thing to get it done. This is perfect entry level. You're ready to step it up. You've been using something, for example, like a spider. You have maybe a Tipman or something. You're ready to try to change it up and do something different. This is going to be probably the next best bet you can go. This is a mechanical marker that can be used in all weather form of it. But again, this is your basic model side. So what we're going to do is we're going to start going from tip to back on this, and then we're going to show you guys how to break down the bolt to be able to maintenance it. We're going to get inside the regulator and show you some of the ins and outs. It's a very simple system here, and let's get to it. So very simply what I always do is there are a couple things. Soap and water, man. Soap and water you cannot go wrong with. Soap and water your barrel. You can use your Allen key set or your own personal set. I have my own personal set here, and I just like the length of the Allen key more. I use the Allen key here to pop up that tab. Then here on the side, we've got a little finger here, a little finger there, and that back cap pops off. These ones too in the front simply slide down. On the tops there, they have two little tabs that sit at the top. Those are going to fit and feed right into your lower frame here. As we're getting to it skeletoned up, start all this stuff again. All of this can be soap and water down. A lot of it can be. I'll show you guys what you don't soap and water. Next, what we're going to do is we are going to break and take off our ASA. Now, this isn't the Pops ASA that you can get from Planet Eclipse. This is just a standard ASA that you'd have on the back end of any other standard marker, from a 98 to an A5 to the Cronus. The Omega is the T15, or not the T15, what's that one called? TMC. You guys got too many T's in your stuff, man. So take your other thicker Allen key set, put it right down inside here, and you're going to unscrew. Use the L to break it loose. Boom, it's broken loose. Use the long side. Then you can start working this all down. Once it's loose, Allen key set there. Dun 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. This now is going to be your regulator system. This is where you're going to be making your velocity adjustment from underneath here, but we'll get to that in just a bit. First, we're going to the breakdown. You do also have these two washers here that sit in the side, these square washers. Make sure you don't lose those, because you won't be able to get this fitted on tight unless those are back in there. These ones, however, we got stuck in tight. Go back to your other Allen key set. Break it loose. Break it loose. At the bottom, you've got two Allen keys, screws that are holding the frame together. Unscrew. Unscrew. This is a bit more advanced of maintenance that goes into your marker. However, with us, we always have to go over this more in-depth and detailed breakdown to be able to make sure that our markers are operating at 100%. So now we have our machine basically apart here. This little front has got a tip gap here, and this is going to fit right onto the side here to refit it. So this way it goes from the front to back, and then will be sandwiched, and then you put your Allen keys back. For now, we're apart here. Once we start looking at the bottom in here, this is where we're going to see one of our rubber seats that sit here at the bottom. You also will notice you have this rectangle pattern here. Now inside of here is where you will actually find your trigger tension spring that's in here, that's pressed down, that's pushing your trigger forward and giving you that tension. These little stainless steel screws, these are using a Phillips. Make sure you do not strip these things out because that will be a pain in the butt. If you don't know what you're doing, come talk to us over here at Outdoor Extreme Battlefield Orlando, or one of our other many Outdoor Extreme locations, to be able to have one of our maintenance guys who are certified to work on these markers. Next, you also notice these are just little pressure pins that are set in here. What I do, take that same Allen key and just bloop, bloop. And now what we're getting into is the beating heart of this machine. This here is your trigger pin. It's a little bit of a pain in the butt to get back in there. We're probably going to have to speed up the video when we get to that point, but it basically sets right inside there just like that. But then we got to finagle it to get it to sit straight. But for right now, let her sit out. At this setting here, everything is out of this thing. You can do a complete wash down on all of this. Just got to keep in mind that you don't want to have too much water sitting on here. Make sure it gets dried very, very well because you don't want rust to develop in between these. Those of us down here in Florida in high humidity areas, we know that rust is a real thing. So just make sure you're paying attention to how that you're not leaving any water on here. Otherwise, these screw heads 100% can get rusted out. Set that off to the side. This here is your whole heart, okay? The system sits just like so inside of here. So as this sits in here, the air is flowing through in here. Oh wait, I've got it backwards. There we go. Much better. This is how it'll set inside of the system in here. When we're getting into, I believe this is called the three-way, you want to make sure you have two of these rubber bumpers. And it is difficult to see it, but if you look carefully on the edge, there's a little edge that sits closer to one side. You want to make sure that the little edge here is always facing down towards the marker, okay? In here, you have a little brass collar. You unscrew the brass collar. Take the little pin that's out of here. And this is where you want to use Q-tips. Clean everything up inside of here. Wipe this down. You'll find a lot of excess grease if you end up putting too much grease on your bolt or around in your air. This is where you're going to find a lot of extra grease is going to develop in this. You'll also notice this little silver disc here. Very, very, very tiny piece. With an itty bitty O-ring on that side. Same thing, clean it up, clean it up. Then you're going to use your Dow 33 or Planet Eclipse grease. Moist your fingers up with this. A lot of people get confused and thinking that you got to put this big glob of grease on this stuff. You don't need to do that. When you're getting it from the factory, there will be a little bit more excess grease that will be on these parts. However, that's because they're unsure of how long it's going to be sitting, and they want to make sure that those pieces are still lubricated and that the active ingredient is still happening within that grease to make sure those O-rings, it still stays sealed. But when it comes down to your cleaning or maintenance, very little. You don't need a whole lot. Once you've cleaned it all up and you've re-greased your part, we're going to reassemble. Take that little silver bit, put it back inside there. Take your other pin, slide it back inside there. Brass collar. Now those of you guys who know anything regarding metals, some of you guys may not. Brass is very, 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 very soft. It can bend, it can strip very, very easily. So again, once this up, you do not need to put your full water boy big old wrench on it. You don't need to do that. Instead, finger tight, a lot of this stuff, it snugs up, beautiful. Very good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to set this stuff off to the side when we get to the reassembly side of things. This is a little tube. This is where your air is going to be flowing through, heading up to the main frame and to your actual bolt of your marker. This here, what I do is I take a Q-tip, I rip the tip of it off, I push that Q-tip through there, try to pull it through there, strip off extra if I need to on the other end, and clean this thing out. Because any kind of dirt, grime, whatever junk that you end up getting in your ASA or on the threads of your marker or your air tank, excuse me, and you put it inside here, it's all shooting inside of this stuff. So make sure, keep that clean. Set to the side there. This will unscrew. And this here may look a little scary, but it's not. This is very, very simple stuff here. This is actually going to be where your velocity adjustment is to be able to raise or lower your FPS, your feet per second on your projectile. This is a two-part system here. You unscrew it. Now, once you unscrew it, you're left with a couple of parts. Your spring, your piston, and then we'll get inside the regulator part in just a second. This here is where I'll typically find a lot of dirt or, grime and stuff will build up on here. Always want to make sure you clean up all of inside of this spring as well. Make sure everything is squeaky clean. Inside as well is where any kind of dirt and debris, all this stuff will all accumulate inside of here, depending on where you guys are playing at. Inside of here too, you want to make sure wherever there are threads, you are cleaning these threads up. Down here in Florida, we got a lot of sand, and this is the bottom of the guns, or the marker, excuse me, and this is where you're going to be setting, if you're crawling a lot, this is going to be on the ground a lot. So you want to make sure that this area always is getting cleaned up. Now, we're going to move into here. You want it to be backing inward so that it can come out. You don't want to force it, trying to get it to come out the opposite way. It just won't go. So you unscrew it through there, pop through. Now, once you're inside of here, we're going to set this to the side for a second. Once again, inside of here, clean all of this up. Q-tips. I'm saying a lot of the repetitive stuff, but I'm telling you, get you one of those big Costco-sized packs of Q-tips. You won't regret it. You will burn through a lot of them cleaning this stuff up to get in all the nooks and crannies. There's a lot of different shelving that's inside of here, so you want to make sure that you're getting in there. Now, once we get to this point here, this is where your velocity is going to be applying pressure onto pistons. Okay? This is where a lot of this is all coming together, and you want to make sure that these O-rings are still lubricated. And you are probably not going to be able to see it, but inside of here is also another O-ring, because this O-ring is now what's seating inside for this piston here, okay? What I do is I take my Allen key to get it apart. Again, this is brass. This is very, very soft metal. Get one of my backup Allen keys. I slide it through here, and again, this is the same thing we preach over and over. You do not need to put the water boy strength in here when tightening stuff down. Very easily, it should be able to bloop, pop right off. Beautiful. Unscrews. Now when you have a seat here, now after thousands of shots on this, you will have to end up replacing this part. This part is also you will find in your Planet Eclipse toolkit, parts kit. But what you can do is this seat, if this seat you start seeing on the edge of it starts getting compressed where there's an indentation on it, or even it's started to chew through it at all, now you need to replace that. Or if it's not that bad, it has a slight indentation or mushrooming effect on here, you were able, if you can use your Kung Fu nails, I'm going to try to use my Kung Fu nails. Oh, you are a bugger. There you go. Then you'll see the seat as well as this little pin and screw here. I can't even hold it, it's so small. So here, looking at this little bit here, just make sure she's clean, good to go, clean inside of here, and you put it back together. If you just have a little indentation, you need to flip it, so you can add, I don't know if you'll be able to see it real well here, but there's a little mushrooming effect that's on this side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this mushroom side and I'm going to put it inside. Now this is a way that you get a second life out of this. It goes back in so much easier. Taking your Q-tip, when you get inside of here, clean it up well, right? You're going to have to probably rip off some of it depending on the size of your Q-tip, and you want to clean inside of there because there is an O-ring that's in there. Then I will take that same Q-tip, put just a dollop of grease on it, slide it through inside of here, and then roll it around in there to be able to re-grease that O-ring inside of there. Once that is done, put it back together. If you're unsure if you have it on tight enough, again, we can do the same way we did before, but avoid the water boy. Simple, snug. Oh, I went the wrong way. Simple, snug. It stopped. It went tight. We're done. We're good. Groovy. Now that your parts have all been cleaned up, re-greased, now it's time to go back to the assembly. And we're going to start from the bottom and work our way up. I'm going to take your re-greased bit in there. Then you're going to screw it back in. Now, as you're threading it in here, it might be a little bit hard to see inside of there. I'm trying to use the light here. As you're screwing it back in there, you can put your finger in and you'll feel that it sits a little bit higher as you're screwing this back in. When you're screwing it back in, you want this just about flush. You'll be able, unless you have sausage fingers, you'll be able to feel that it became pretty flush inside of there. Once that's there, that's perfect. Now the reason being is we do this so that we can make adjustments once we get to the chrono. You want it to be much lower where it almost doesn't want to be able to fire, because you don't want to explode it with all of the pressure difference by having it backed all the way out and allowing that much more air and that much more bang, and then you can start ruining internal parts of your marker. Okay, so we can always turn up the velocity. We don't want to start with the velocity way up. Okay, so very gives you kind of an idea and a glimpse at the way that it looks set. What I'll do is I'll unscrew this all the way so you can get an idea of what it looks like extended. All right, you can see that thing is just about flush on the outside here, right? That's not where you want to have this thing put together and then put an air tank to it. You can blow seals, you can blow internal parts. You don't want to do that. So instead, we're going to back it back in there. Put your finger back into that hole unless you got sausage paws. In there just a bit. You can see back in there, we're good to go. Then, time for reassembly. Take your clean piston, put it back inside the top cap. I always like doing this end where I put the screw or the spring back in there. Everything fits and slides. Happy go lucky. Screw it back together. Beautiful. Then, you want to make sure, put just a little bit of lubrication. Again, a booger, not even a booger on there. I'm not saying put a real booger of grease. Back on here. Thread it back in. Nice and tight. Bloop. Perfect. Your clean air transfer tube back in. Perfect there. This is where we get a little more complicated in the reassembly, but it's like Legos. If you built Lego sets, you can do this too. This is probably where we're going to need to cue a fancy little sped up portion of this, putting into the trigger pin back into your marker in here, because sometimes you got to use these little holes in the side to be able to lift it up to get it to drop in there. So cue fancy quick music as I go and put this back in here. Hey, we did it. All right, very good. Now that that's in there, you want to make sure you grab your shorty pin. These pins look very, very similar in the same size, but one is definitely longer, just by a hair. The longer one is going to go in the top, holding together your three-way. This little pin here is what's actually holding your trigger pin in place. You're going to take this right there, put it on through. Good. Now your trigger pin won't fall out of place. When you're looking at this part here, you'll notice in part of your three-way that you have a hole here, and then you've got that weird, I don't know what we want to call it, the oval shape seat that's going to go there. You want to make sure that the whole part is facing down. Take that, slide it right down in there. Absolutely happy-go-lucky. Then you grab one of your seats, and you'll notice again, try to find the edge that has that flat part, and you want that flat part down inside of it. And that's then there where it'll seat and sit right inside, like so. Your other part of your three-way, you'll notice again that it has a hole on the side that's just towards the bottom more, okay? Inside of that's where you want to make sure that that hole is lining up with this hole, okay? So you don't want it sitting up, you want it to sit down and lined up so it'll sit right on top. And this way, when you put it together, you're still able to see through there. Now, what I'll do for the sake of video showing you, wrong placement. No, you are not going to be able to get that pin through there, and it's upside down. You're able to see through there? Bing! Good to go. Take your next seat. Place your seat in proper position. You take your last little pin, slide it through here, press it in, and that is the whole upper and side of your three-way disassembly and cleaning. What we're going to do is we're going to take this and set this off to the side for now. We'll get to the reassembly in just a second. What we want to get into here is your drivetrain of your marker. Now, if you're having a struggle, you accidentally put it in too tight, you had dirt, grime, or whatever developed inside of there, Planet Eclipse has the matching Allen key in here that you'll be able to pop inside of here and unscrew it. However, we're good here on this one. We were able to unscrew this one with your hands. Slides out, easy peasy, squeezy lemons. This is your Gamma Core bolt. With the Planet Eclipse platforms and all of the different family on the family tree of it, this is your standard Gamma Core bolt. As you go up in your higher tiers, when you go to the ETHA 3, you go to the 180R, you go to the R5 or the EMF 200, all of these you start moving up into a more air efficient bolt system. This one here is your standard bolt system. Your striker, your can, and then we're going to move into the inside. So you unscrew this. Boom. Your can, striker tip, your spool valve, your spool, your spool valve guide here. What you're going to do is, first, you can remove this O-ring if you're able to, pinch it, roll it up, you'll be able to roll it off, push it through, and pop it out. This is where two main areas you're going to want to clean and maintain is going to be first inside of here. There is a little O-ring that sits on the inside. This is where the striker tip is sliding back and forth, every time you fire. So every bit of dirt, dust, particles will develop on here, because with this being a hopper, anything that's in that hopper, anything that's in your pod that you're throwing into it is going inside of your breech, and then thus your striker tip is moving through all of it. So if you have busted up paint, you picked up rounds off the ground, which do not pick rounds up off the ground and put them inside your marker. But if you did, this is the issues you're going to run into. You're going to start developing scoring, scratching. You're going to start having all of your O-rings get torn up. You're going to start having a lot of problems if you do not maintenance these main parts here. So what I use is a little dental pick to get inside of here to be able to pull this out. I've also used thick bamboo skewers. You want to be careful to not puncture the O-ring itself. You just want to get off to the side of it and pull it up and pop it right out. Then inside of there will be a groove where that O-ring sits in there, similar to the reverse side of this one. That groove is just going to have a groove inside of there. You want to make sure that you get all the junk and grossness out of there. This way you're able to re-grease it, put a clean grease in there with a clean marker. Everything's running flawlessly. That part there. Next, moving into your, oh man, there it is. All right, very good. Greasy bolts. What you're going to do, sometimes you'll notice that there are two little cuts that are on the side here. It's not completely rounded. You are able to put a little adjustable wrench that's on there. Caution this, be smart. You do not want to scratch up your anodized metal on here. You want to be very gentle in the setting of putting that adjustable wrench on there, just to give it enough pressure to unscrew. Now, while you're doing this, you want to make sure you don't have your cats around while you're doing this, because these, where we have springs, O-rings, and if you know anything about cats, you know they like hair ties, and anything that goes boing, they're after. So keep in mind, this is currently under pressure of a spring. So when you're unscrewing this, you'll see it gonna go. When's it gonna go? Ooh, there it goes. It relieved. Perfect. Push that there. Remove your spool guide. This is your spool with the spring and pin in the back. Oh, come on. Come on. Yeah, I did it. Very good. All right. This is what's sitting in the back of here. Again, this you're not going to see too much of dirt and debris getting inside of here. However, you do want to make sure over time that it is a lot of movement. There's moisture, there's dirt, it's inherent dust in the air. You eventually do want to get through here and clean this up. It takes a little bit, but if you're able to get your pinky inside of there, it'll slide inside and you're able to pull it out. But seeing as this one was just clean, to create a little suction on there, don't use any tools in there to scratch this thing up. You're gonna do, clean it up, re-grease it, put it back together. Perfect. You can set that off to the side. Now, when we're talking about this spool, where you're going to find dirt and dust develop inside of here is going to be right inside, okay? That's where you're going to find a lot of these moving parts, because this part here is cycling and moving all the time, every time you're firing this. After 20,000 shots or 10,000 shots? I think it's 10,000. 10,000 shots, you're going to want to remove this O-ring here on your spool. Very simply, lift it up, remove it. Always reference your Planet Eclipse manual. That is basically a Lego manual for finding which O-ring you need, which will be labeled in your parts kit. Replace that O-ring. Money, dude. Clean them up. Make sure they're all polished. In here, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 O-rings on the external. There are no O-rings on the inside, because this is the part that is going inside of here, okay? Your cup seal O-ring is where it's going to be taking a lot more of the punishment as it's cycling ever so slightly through there, creating that seal, and then the blow off of excess air. I found a lot in here for our markers wise. There's a lot of dirt, dust, and debris that gets inside of here. You can use another Q-tip stripped, go down through there, push it through there, clean it up. You also see it a lot more on that pin too. So make sure, clean that sucker up. Place it all back together. Now, this part here, you have external threads that the can screws onto. You also have internal threads that this part threads into. Careful and pay attention that you do not cross thread this. You put it back together, obviously it's not going to sit there. It's going to float in this position. So you are going to have to put ever so slightly a little bit of tension on there. And very, very carefully, just using fingertips, thread it back in there. Beautiful. Threads on tight. Money, dude. You do not need to put the adjustable wrench water boy into this at all. Now that that's done, you want to make sure, now that it's nice and tight, reassembly, take your striker, put it back through onto your can, reassemble your can back onto it. Money, dude. Take it back on in there, thread that sucker back on there, nice and snug, done. No need to over torque it. Now we're going to begin the reassembly side of this. Now what I've done for ease is I'm going to leave the ASA off right now because it makes it much easier to be able to get access to the Allen key screws on the bottom here without having to fight the ASA that'll be sticking out here. So now that that's put back together with the clamshell style, take your Allen key. As you can see, it guides and flows right across the top very, very easily. Remember to always tighten stuff down when you're doing this in the long way. Do not put this like this. You can just create too much torque on it and you can start rounding out your Allen key heads. You can strip the screw heads and then you have so many more problems that happen with this. So anytime you're tightening stuff down, always tighten it down like that. Money, dude. Perfect. Now that your upper has been reattached to your lower, the three-way has been put back together in here. The trigger pin is set back in place using these two pins. Pin holds there, holding your screw or your trigger pin in place. This pin here holding your three-way in place. Money, dude. Now we can go back and put our ASA back together. If you have a brand new model and it ain't got a lot of wear and tear on it, you may find that these little square heads washers, these will get lost. They'll fall right out. So you want to be conscious that you have those set in place. Taking this, put it back together. Back together. Screws go back in. Money, dude. Perfect. Tight, tight. Awesome. One last thing that we've got to get to is we are going to be getting to the detents. These detents are awesome. They're little rubber fingers, but you have to be aware on how they set inside of here. You're going to grab your Allen key, unscrew it, set that little Allen key screw to the side. I always use my little Allen key head here to pop this right off. And this little shell here is called your eye cover. Will pop right off. And we get to the insides here. This one's definitely a little bit dirty. You definitely want it. It's typical we end up finding sometimes with rental markers after they've been used. This here is your detent. Now this little piece of rubber is what's holding the ball in place so it doesn't just roll out of your barrel. If you're starting to notice that you're getting barrel breaks, chopping of paint, the balls are getting squirted, they're going all over the place, this detent may have torn up already and it may need replacement. you will find these replacements in your Planet Eclipse repair tool bag. It comes with 2 of them because it takes 2 to hold in place. You'll also see on your eye cover, there's another little rubber filler. This here is closing up the gap that you would find on your high-end models that have electronic eyes that will be in your electronic models. Again, this is the base model. As you move up, this would be, instead of a little rubber spacer, this would be an electronic eye, clear piece of plastic with reflective tape. However, you don't need this in this mechanical version of it. So the spacer here, cool, back together. Now when you, goodness gracious. I need Dante to come lick this thing up. There is a little groove that is right here. There's multiple holes, but this is where you want the detent to reset. This is where the screw is going to go back into to hold the eye plate back over here. And this is the spot where that rubber seal will get sealed up in there on the eye plate. So this here is where you're going to try to do your best to get that thing put back in. It's oval shape. The detent is oval shape. The point goes down. Wedge her in there. Nice and right, and it'd be nice and smooth. That has now been put in properly. Then take your eye plate, make sure that little seat is there, place it back together. Put your Allen key screw back in, Allen key tool, tighten it back up. Money, it's cinched up, it's tight. You want to make sure you do that on both sides here. Now, if you had your friend go and wash up your grips for you, because you guys, it's always when you're working on your markers, should be doing it with the homies. So let the homie wash that up for you. We're going to re-input back our grip. The front end has, again, that little tab there that will sit just inside that frame like that. Same thing on the other side. Sits nice and flush. Bingo bongo in the Congo. Back grip, it's going to go in and set here in that order. And then the slides, grips here, and then this last little tab here locks everything in place so nothing's popping off. Clean barrel, clean threads, clean threads. Again, cinch it up. It's tight. It's tight. That has been the breakdown of your basic model for the EMEK from Planet Eclipse. This is Dezi with OXFiles and Mr. Gator. Hope to see you guys in the field where the truth is out there.